The morning of January 11, 2013 began like any other at Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia. Students filled the hallways, chatting about their weekend plans, oblivious to the tragedy that was about to unravel. The school, a place meant for learning and growth, would soon become the epicenter of a national controversy. By the end of that day, the name Kendrick Johnson would be forever etched into history, his death sparking years of speculation, theories, and a family's relentless pursuit of justice. The case would expose significant flaws in the justice system, raise questions about institutional biases, and challenge the credibility of investigative authorities. Kendrick Johnson, a 17-year-old athlete with a promising future, was known for his warm personality, infectious smile, and dedication to his craft. He excelled in sports, particularly basketball and football, where his agility and determination set him apart. But on this fateful day, he was reported missing by his parents after failing to return home from school. His absence was immediately alarming to his family, who described him as responsible and diligent. Less than 24 hours later, a gruesome discovery inside the school's old gym would send shockwaves through the community, igniting a firestorm of unanswered questions and highlighting the potential for systemic cover-ups. A group of students stumbled upon a macabre sight, a rolled-up wrestling mat with feet protruding from within. Panic set in as they alerted school staff and authorities. Upon closer inspection, officials identified the body as Kendrick's. The initial report suggested that he had accidentally fallen into the mat while reaching for his shoes and became trapped, unable to free himself. However, as the investigation unfolded, Kendrick's family and supporters grew skeptical of this explanation. To them, the evidence didn't add up, and soon an ordinary tragedy turned into one of the most debated cases in modern history. Their fight for answers would reveal a tangled web of missing evidence, conflicting autopsies, and allegations of a powerful cover-up. According to the official autopsy, Kendrick's cause of death was asphyxiation due to positional asphyxia, meaning he had suffocated while trapped in the mat. Authorities theorized that he had been trying to retrieve his sneakers, which he typically stored inside the rolled-up mats. The mat stood vertically in the gym, and officials suggested that Kendrick had accidentally fallen headfirst while attempting to grab them. However, Kendrick's family refused to accept this conclusion. The very idea that a strong, athletic teenager could not wiggle free from a mat seemed implausible, especially given the flexibility and strength he demonstrated as an athlete. Their doubts only grew when disturbing details surfaced, including reports that no other students had witnessed the incident and that key footage was missing. Surveillance footage from the gym was incomplete, with significant gaps in time missing. Key camera angles failed to show Kendrick entering the area where the mats were stored. This raised serious concerns about possible tampering or selective editing. Why was there no footage of him falling into the mat, and why did the timestamps appear to be inconsistent? Additionally, students present in the gym at the time did not recall seeing Kendrick in distress, further fueling speculation that something more sinister had occurred. The school's failure to provide a cohesive timeline only added to the growing list of inconsistencies. Then came the findings from the funeral home. When Kendrick's body was returned to his family for burial, they were horrified to discover that his organs had been removed and replaced with newspaper. The funeral home claimed that the organs had decomposed and were discarded by the coroner. But the lack of transparency only fueled suspicions of foul play. The Johnson family, convinced that Kendrick had been murdered, demanded a second autopsy. They believed someone had gone to great lengths to cover up the truth, and the removal of his organs only deepened their suspicions. The revelation that the coroner's office had failed to properly document these actions led to further outrage and speculation about misconduct. In 2013, an independent autopsy was conducted by Dr. William Anderson, who concluded that Kendrick had suffered blunt force trauma to the right side of his neck, contradicting the official cause of death. The findings reignited the debate: was Kendrick the victim of a cover-up? If so, who was responsible? This discovery was particularly troubling because the state medical examiner's report had not noted any external injuries that would indicate foul play. The contrast between the two autopsies underscored the possibility of deliberate manipulation of evidence. Rumors began to swirl. Some pointed fingers at two brothers, both former classmates of Kendrick, whose father was an FBI agent. The theory suggested that a prior altercation between Kendrick and one of the brothers had escalated, leading to his death. Allegations emerged that the boy's father had used his influence to suppress evidence and protect his sons. However, law enforcement insisted there was no credible proof linking them to the crime. Despite this, the Johnson family believed that the case had not been thoroughly investigated and that potential suspects had been shielded from scrutiny. As lawsuits were filed and new claims surfaced, national attention intensified, drawing in civil rights activists and media outlets. The Johnson family's legal battles intensified. They filed lawsuits, demanding school officials and investigators be held accountable for what they believed to be a deliberate obstruction of justice. They also sought the release of additional surveillance footage, which they claimed could expose the truth. In court, they faced legal roadblocks, but their persistence never wavered. They hired private investigators and continued to seek new evidence that could unravel the truth behind Kendrick's death. Their fight for justice became emblematic of broader concerns about racial inequality, institutional corruption, and the difficulty of challenging powerful entities. In 2018, Kendrick's body was exhumed for a third autopsy. The results once again pointed to blunt force trauma, further contradicting the state's findings. The forensic pathologist determined that Kendrick had likely sustained fatal injuries before being placed in the mat. With 3 separate autopsies presenting conflicting conclusions, the family was left with more questions than answers. Why did the official autopsy fail to detect the injuries identified in the independent reports? The Department of Justice reviewed the case but eventually closed the investigation, citing insufficient evidence to support criminal charges. Despite this, the Johnsons continued their relentless pursuit of justice. Kendrick Johnson's death remains one of the most haunting unsolved cases in recent history. Whether his passing was a tragic accident or a covered-up homicide, one fact remains undisputed: a bright young life was cut short far too soon. His story has sparked national conversations about racial injustice, corruption, and the flaws in America's justice system. His name has become a symbol of resilience, a reminder that families should not have to fight this hard for answers. As time passes, the fight for Kendrick's truth continues. His parents, supporters, and legal advocates refuse to let his name fade into obscurity. Whether the full truth will ever come to light remains unknown, but one thing is certain: Kendrick Johnson's story is far from over. His case remains a haunting reminder of the gaps in the justice system, the pain of unanswered questions, and the power of a family's unwavering determination.